Welcome to the Peering Podcast, where the best way to see the future is to peer into it together. It's smart talk with a twinkle in its eye, about peer power, leadership agility, and collective intelligence in a world spinning faster every day. Hosted by Mike Richardson and friends, we peer into what it really takes to stay human, stay curious, and stay future ready. Real conversation, where peers get curious, curiosity gets peery, and leadership gets real. So pull up a chair and let's peer into it together.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Peering Podcast. If you want to see the future, the best way is to peer into it together. And I'm really excited about this one, everybody. I've got my good friend and colleague, Ben Norton, here with me. Hey, Ben, how you doing?
Hello, Mike. I'm doing really well. Excited to be with you today.
Yes, indeed, because we're about to have a great conversation, everybody, about Ben's journey, his career, how deep he runs in terms of experience of being a CEO and an operations leader, and now helping people strategize and execute their businesses. We'll hear a lot more about that. But most importantly, everybody, and most excitingly, Ben has been based in sort of the greater San Diego area for quite some time, but has started to spread his wings up here into the Temecula Valley area and develop a presence here and relationships here and clients here. And I think at some point, Ben, you're even going to move here, I think. Is that right?
We're working on it. We're in progress.
Awesome.
We're making our way.
Lots of great
coming in
places around here to live. And so everybody, I'm really excited that Ben is going to join the team with what we are building here in Temecula Valley with ref peer groups and the bigger picture vision of CXO Exchange Temecula Valley. We'll talk all about that and more as we get into this. But again, Ben, a warm welcome here. Could we start off perhaps, I'm a little bit vague, but perhaps you can remind me and our listeners, how and where and when did you and I first meet?
Yes. So 2007, if you can believe that, almost 20 years ago, I was a young first-time CEO, and I had the opportunity to be in your peer group in San Diego.
Yep.
And it was so great for someone who'd never been a CEO to be in a room with others with experience. And frankly, I don't know what I would have done had I not found you and been a part of your peer group.
Because back then you were the CEO of what kinds of businesses, Ben?
It was a software development company, systems integrator, tech, very tech heavy.
Yep.
And I came in as a turnaround CEO. The founder needed to step away for a lot of reasons, and I was a competitor. I was over working at a bigger entity, and he invited me out for coffee one day and said, "Hey, are you interested in taking over my company?" And of course, I said yes. Super excited to have the opportunity to sit in the big chair for the first time. And so as a part of that, I discovered you and your group, and it was fantastic.
Was that your first experience of a proper peer group, Ben?
Yes, it was. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was getting myself into other than I knew it seemed like the room that I needed to be in at that time.
Beautiful. So then fill us in with your career before that and your career after that, and sort of how did you arrive at where you are and what you're doing today?
Roy, what a story that is. And so coming out of school, I went to work for Lockheed Martin, big aerospace and defense company.
Yep.
I started in the classified sector, working on very, very covert satellite programs, working with groups in our government who were building and flying reconnaissance satellites to keep an eye on our enemies and our friends around the world.
Yep.
Learned a lot about a lot of things. So after some time, I moved over to the commercial side of the business, where I was marketing launch vehicles, putting satellites into geosynchronous orbit. Lockheed Martin had a partnership with a Russian company called Krunichev that built the Proton rocket, which was an ICBM intended to drop nukes on the US during the Cold War, at the end of which they had a stockpile of these. So they formed a joint venture with Lockheed Martin to sell them to satellite communications companies around the world. So I marketed the Atlas rocket and the Proton rocket. My territory was the Asia Pacific region. So I spent a lot of time all throughout Asia, Central Europe, Eastern Europe. I used to go to the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, where the Proton rocket launches from, take VIPs, heads of state there to see the launch, get them all back into Moscow where we'd have a big party. And then my job was to get everybody safely out of the country.
Oh my
and back
gosh.
home. So amazing experiences in my mid to late 20s. I made no money. I don't remember what I made, but it was nothing.
Right.
And so this really shiny thing came along called the .com era.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of young people doing really well at these businesses that had no business being in business. And so I joined a startup here in San Diego. We were doing web analytics, early days of the internet.
Right.
And Google saw what we were up to.
Yep.
And they acquired us. And that became Google Analytics, which is the de facto standard across the internet for measuring the effectiveness of your website. So the good news was Urchin didn't want the people. They only wanted the technology, which was great because I realized I was an entrepreneur. I didn't know what that was before then, but it just hit me that I wanted to build and run companies.
Yep.
So I went on to run 3 more. All were acquired. And the last one we ran on EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, which is a business operating framework.
Yep.
And so that was such an amazing experience. That business ran so much better than the previous companies I'd been a part of. We as a leadership team, we worked better together. We were really clear on where we were going. We knew how we were going to get there. That when we sold that business, I decided I don't want to run any more businesses. I just want to help other entrepreneurs get more of what they want out of their companies.
Beautiful.
And so I went through the process to become a certified EOS implementer. And so now I spend my time helping other entrepreneurs get everything they want out of their businesses.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And so everybody listening to this, when Ben says it's not rocket science, he means it, right? He means it because he knows what he's talking
about rockets.
And so and so how long have you now been an EOS implementer, Ben? And tell us a little bit more about what that is as an approach to strategy and execution and leadership and teamwork. Just sort of paint that picture a little bit more for us.
Sure, absolutely. So after running a business on EOS for about 3 years, I've now been a certified EOS implementer for going on 4 years.
Yep.
So about almost 7 years all in experience with the operating system. And so it's a way of systemizing and harmonizing all the moving pieces in your business.
Yep.
And so when I'm working with leadership teams, I'm helping them with 3 very specific things that we call vision, traction, and healthy. Vision meaning making sure you and your team are 100% on the same page with where you're going and you know how you're going to get there. Traction meaning making sure you're working with more discipline and accountability and pursuit of that vision. And healthy, making sure you're a cohesive team that really works well together, because a lot of times leaders don't work well together. And so we just help you get to be a really healthy, cohesive team. And so as you do that, you find that soon everybody in your organization is 100% on the same page with your vision. Everybody in your business knows where you're going. They know how you're going to get there. They know what they have to do, what their hand is in it. They're working with more discipline and accountability, and they're a healthy, cohesive team.
Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. Yep. And Ben, by the way, everybody, Ben has spoken to all of my ref forums in San Diego and up here in Temecula. And he's heard me say this before, therefore, that there's a funny story here that over Ben's left shoulder, if you're watching the video here, you can see the book Traction, written by Gino Wickman, which was published, I think, in 2010 or 2011.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And around about the same time, 2009, 2010, 2011, I was working on my book, which I ultimately published in November 2011. And I also used the word traction in my work around agility and all of that, with no connection to that book and Gino Wickman's work. And I'm starting to research, titles and subtitles for my book. And I go out there and I start looking at the word traction, and I discover Gino Wickman's book. And I think, hang on a minute, who's this? Who's, stolen my word? And then I research it and I see, well, it's already out there, it's already published, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I had to sort of pivot, and I ended up going to the dark side and titling my book on the inverse of traction, which I call wheelspin. Mm-hmm. And my book was all about agility, so it was called Wheelspin, the Agile Executive's Manifesto. And my book, sold, roughly speaking, my book sold a few copies, whereas Gino Wickman's traction book sold millions, Ben? Millions of
3 million. Yeah, I think it's over 3 million now.
Yeah.
3 million copies around the world.
Yeah.
In multiple languages.
So we are blessed, everybody, to have Ben Norton here in our midst, up here in Temecula Valley, because he really knows his stuff, not least of all from his personal experience and career, as you've heard. Now, with 7 years under his belt of working with EOS, a book, the traction book, which is the backbone of EOS, in which Gino Wickman introduces the idea of an entrepreneurial operating system, EOS, that's now sold, I think you said millions, 3 million copies, something like that. So it is a real body of wisdom, everybody. It's a real body of thought leadership. It's a real body of practice leadership about how to operate a business better. And so, when I wanted to launch an operations leadership forum up here in Temecula Valley, which similar to the one we've already launched in San Diego, I thought to myself, nobody better to have that conversation with and quickly reach a meeting of minds around than Ben Norton. And so tell me a little bit more, Ben, when I floated the idea at you of becoming the forum leader of an operations leadership forum up here in Temecula Valley, what was it about that kind of piqued your interest, and what's your sort of why for being so passionate about doing that?
Yeah, it's in my DNA to help first. It's an opportunity to set a stage for other operators to come together and draw on the collective experience in that room, help them short circuit the path to success, sidestep mistakes that some of us have made along the way. And so it's very rewarding work. And I love Temecula. And so I'm finding myself more and more drawn to Temecula Valley. Started about probably over 2 years ago. I just organically wound up having a couple of clients, and now I have a few more. I'm spending more and more time in Temecula Valley, and I really enjoy it. And so the people I've met in and around Temecula are just great people. And so I'm being drawn in more and more. My wife and I were in the process of moving to Temecula, and it fills my cup to be able to do this type of work, and to do it in Temecula is an added bonus.
Beautiful. Yeah. Well, welcome to the community, Ben. We're blessed to have you, and everybody. Ben was one of the sponsors at last November's CXO Exchange Temecula Valley inaugural CEO C-Suite Summit that I hosted with REF members here in Temecula. And Ben was one of a number of different sponsors, and we had 100 people in the room at Wilson Creek Winery in the ballroom there for the better part of a day and a happy hour, and keynote speakers, TEDx speakers, breakouts. It was a phenomenal event. Ben was there for the whole thing. Thanks for being there, Ben.
Absolutely.
We're doing the same again this year in November as well. We aim to have 200 people in the room this year. And of course, we're now building out the portfolio of forums that we have in Temecula. And I am really excited about an operations leadership forum because, as you know, Ben, that's my background too. I came up through operations. My first job out of college was as a petroleum engineer working on offshore oil and gas drilling rigs for Shell. And that's where you get very schooled very quickly in great operations management. Otherwise, things go very wrong, very big, very fast with few second chances. And that just informed my leadership career of running companies and now coaching and facilitating leaders to run companies. So we're talking here, everybody, about a peer group, a peer forum. Think about it like a personal advisory board, everybody, specifically for operations leaders, which often, Ben, might be called what? Chief of Staff, VP of Operations, COO?
General manager. In EOS terms, it's the integrator. Yeah. And so that role has a lot of different titles.
Yeah. And so let's pick up on that, Ben. Tell us a little bit more about this concept that I think Gino Wickman teased in the first book, Traction, and then really majored on in his second book, which was called what? Rocket Fuel, is that right?
There's a whole library of books now.
Okay.
Rocket Fuel
But
is one.
he went to this place of visionary and integrator. Tell us a bit more about that.
Right. So in EOS, we talk about visionary and integrator. Those are two very specific roles within an entrepreneurial business.
Yeah.
The integrator, that's the person, they're the day-to-day. They're really good at holding people accountable. They're really, really good at making sure the processes are in place. You've got a really well-oiled machine. They're really excellent at the details. The visionary, that's the person who has 10 great ideas a day. They're flying high. They're moving fast. They're really good at the big relationships. They're just not great at getting down into the details. That's a very different skill set.
Yeah.
And so when your visionary and your integrator are in perfect alignment, we talk about rocket fuel, and your company is going to take you anywhere you want to go. Those are two very, very different skill sets. And when they're perfectly aligned, there's no stopping you.
Yeah, beautiful. And being an integrator, everybody, and I've played those roles myself. I went back, I've been doing peer forums and peer groups now for nearly 25 years. But actually, I took a 3-year break, 2018 to 2021, where something crossed my path, and I actually went back as the global president running a global business, as the number 2 guy to the founding entrepreneur who'd founded this global educational franchise business 20 years prior, and wanted to take it on a new rocket-fueled phase of growth. And so recognized that he needed a number 2. I framed it up to help him understand, the framing of it. I framed it up as, yes, you're the visionary, I will be the integrator. That was very helpful, actually. And I actually, sort of grabbed some of the insights, from the rocket fuel body of wisdom to help frame that up. And it's a challenging job. It's a challenging job because, visionaries and integrators can often drive each other crazy because they're wired very differently. And when, though, you can have an integrator who is a round peg in a round hole, fully filling the role, it just makes a heck of a difference to the future of a business, Ben, correct?
Sure does. It sure does. It makes all the difference. So vision without traction is a hallucination.
Yes.
And so that's what the integrator does. The integrator takes the CEO's vision and turns it into reality. They're great at execution. They're great at creating the systems. They're great at putting the teams together. They're great at solving issues. And without that, it's not to say that you can't achieve your vision, but it's just going to be longer and slower and harder without that person in your organization.
Yeah. So what we're looking to do, everybody, is we're launching this group in September of 2026 here. Here we are in July 2026, recording this podcast. We're launching this in September 2026. And we usually launch these groups with sort of plus or minus 8 founding members, and then we build these groups out to 15. No competitors in groups, so there's only one kind of seat, per business, per industry, as it were. Totally confidential, and not just about business, but also about life. And it's a place where members can come to continue their learning journey of fully filling that seat, right? That role on the bus, the number 2 seat on the bus, called being that integrator that, gets everything, coming along nicely, gets the trains running on time, kind of thing. And that's a challenging job, and therefore is just begging for a peer group experience where everybody is reflecting on each other, challenging each other, holding each other accountable, sharing best practices, shining a light on each other's blind spots to help everybody go on that journey of mastery, of being a high-performing integrator or chief of staff, COO, VP. Your titles don't matter. And so tell us a bit more, Ben. What are the kinds of day-to-day challenges that you see that people trying to fill that role as an integrator encounter day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month?
Right. Well, right from the jump, people and processes, right? So a lot of times, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, making sure you've got the right people in the right seats,
Yep.
you've got the right systems. And then from there, what I see often challenges that integrators face will be things like scaling without losing quality.
Yep.
So what got you here isn't going to get you here. And so rejiggering your systems and your machine and your people. I see cross-department conflict, sales overcommitting. Now it's on the integrator and the ops team to figure out how are we going to deliver on that.
Yep.
I see accountability without authority. A lot of times, if it's a founder-led business, the integrator is accountable, but doesn't have the authority to do what he or she needs to do
Yep.
to make things go the way they need to be. I see issues with prioritizing. There's so many things. There are hundreds and hundreds of things that an integrator could be focused on. Sometimes there's some challenge prioritizing, focusing on the right things at the right time.
Yeah.
So those are just a few. There's many.
Yeah, and everybody listening, look out for a blog that Ben and I have worked on together. Obviously, that will embed this recording as well, so that people can come across it that way, not just organically. And the title of that blog, everybody, is all about a peer group specifically for operations leaders, and the subtitle is Masters of Chaos. And in many ways, Ben, in my work around agility, I frame up for people an understanding of two kinds of chaos. There's organized chaos and there's disorganized chaos, and those are two completely different worlds. And disorganized chaos is frenetic, it is frustrating, and ultimately it is burnout. And on the flip side, organized chaos is it's always going to be chaotic because it's so fast moving these days. How could it not be? But organized chaos is fun, it is flowing, and it is just a fantastic groove in which to work. And so in many ways, everybody, we will be helping these operations leaders who come into this forum understand how to move the needle out of the red zone of disorganized chaos and into the green zone of organized chaos. And it changes everything, doesn't it, Ben? I mean, it just changes the whole feeling of a company and the sense of prosperity that everybody's experiencing, and really just the feeling about the potential future of the business. What's your experience of that, Ben?
Yeah, so there will always be issues in a business. There will never not be issues that an integrator and his or her team are facing. And so just getting really, really good at mastering the chaos is the name of the game. And so I'm really excited that we have the opportunity to put together a forum in Temecula that's going to help those in those roles with that very thing.
Yeah, and so the way it works, everybody, is it's a half-day forum once a month. As we said, we'll start at about 8 members and then build it to sort of plus or minus 15, no competitors, totally confidential. We have 3 elements. It's a half-day meeting once a month. And there are 3 sort of pillars to a meeting. The first, with other kind of things that kind of glue it all together. The first thing is we have a speaker for about an hour and 15 minutes. As you heard, Ben is already a speaker in the REF equation, has spoken to all of my forums. He's now going to become the forum leader of this particular group. And he'll continue speaking to other forums, and indeed will probably speak to your own forum at times, once or twice a year, Ben, to sort of frame up, the insights that you can bring. But there'll be a speaker, everybody, for an hour and 15 minutes. And the forum leader's job, with my help, is to line up the sort of curriculum of speaker topics that the group most wants to have. And we have some fantastic speakers in our system to sort of give you the injection of inspiration each month. So that's the first pillar of the half-day peer group meeting. The second pillar is what we call the round table, everybody. This is where we get you sharing, disclosing, scoring. We get you doing sort of leadership development work. We do different exercises using different templates, and we have an ROI toolbox, and we'll do AI demos to each other and these kinds of things. So that's the second element, which is what we call the round table. And then the third element, which is the most crucial element of all, everybody, this is the core of the core of the core, and Ben knows this well. The third element is what we call the case. And the case is where one of the members, with our help to frame and prepare it in advance, will bring a real-time, real-life issue, problem, challenge, opportunity along the lines of the kinds of things that Ben has just been articulating that he, most commonly sees in his clients. A real-life, real-time issue, problem, challenge, opportunity, a case, as we call it. And then what we do is we facilitate that member bringing that case through a case issue processing methodology that Ben and I, if I'm there, but Ben as the forum leader, will facilitate. And obviously we have sort of, short, lighter ways in which we can do that if we're trying to do 2 or 3. And also there's the sort of longer, sort of fuller, what I like to call the fully loaded version of doing that, which, might often take perhaps an hour to facilitate the case issue processing, whereby the member bringing it gets to articulate it with our help. And then the other members ask clarifying questions to make sure that they fully understand it. And then we quiet the member bringing it to just listen. We don't want to hear one word pass through their lips. They're just going to be a sponge, and they're going to sponge up the input that they get from all the other members, their challenges, their recommendations, their experiences, their own stories, their inspirations that they can offer the member that brought the case. And then we ask the member that brought the case, what are you hearing? What's resonating? What's landing with you? What do you think you're going to do first? What are you going to do next? What are you going to do after that? And may we hold you accountable in future meetings. And you've done a lot of that over the years, Ben. I've done a lot of that over the years. It's a very powerful process. I'm thinking you're looking forward to helping people wrestle with some pretty complex stuff.
I am. I'm really excited that we're getting this going, and it's going to be just a fantastic experience for those who get to be a part of it. It's going to be great. Really excited.
So I've been doing it for 25 years, everybody. A number of different groups in parallel, all at the same time, including virtual groups globally. So I don't know, Ben, I should try to figure out the math one of these days, but I must have done somewhere towards 1,000 cases, let's say, 1,000 cases over those 25 years, which means, can I say I've heard it all? No, but I've heard a lot. Right. And what's so interesting, Ben, is by and large, unless I'm really short of time, by and large, in some way, shape, or form, after each of those cases, in particular, if it's been a fully loaded case, it's taken an hour, the last question that I ask the member that brought the case is, where else do you have that you can go and do what we just did with you for the last hour? And 99.9% of the time, their answer is, I don't. I don't have anywhere that I could go and table what I just tabled with you as completely, transparently, vulnerably, as I just did with you. I don't have anywhere else I could do that. I can't do that with my boss.
Nope.
I can't do that with the leadership team up and down the hallway.
Nope.
I can't do that with my team because I'm supposed to be the answer person. I can't even do that with my spouse, partner, significant other because I'll freak them out.
Right.
And I got some buddies down the golf club, or I've got some, friends, at the gym. But they don't give me the time and space. They tell me to snap out of it and, have another beer or do the next exercise. So I really don't have anywhere where I can fully do that. And that's what a peer group provides. And it's fantastic. When we create the conditions, the magic happens. And that's what we're excited to do as part of this group. As we said, everybody, a half-day meeting. We're going to launch this September and then build it from there. And this is part of the bigger ecosystem of support that we're putting in place, everybody, in Temecula Valley, in what we call the middle tier. This is that zone of small to medium-sized enterprises, the mid-market, the mid-tier. I call them big, small companies. They're not small companies. They're not big companies. They're big, small companies. In other words, they're too small to be big and they're too big to be small. They're kind of caught in that middle zone, more than 10 employees, perhaps 100 employees, perhaps 200 employees, perhaps all the way up to, 500 employees. Plenty of them will have 20, 30, 40, 50 employees. As you know, Ben, I'm on the board of Wilson Creek Winery. Wilson Creek has about 200 employees. So we're in that middle zone, everybody, where, down in San Diego and over in Orange County and up in LA, there's a whole ecosystem of support for that middle tier. But here in Temecula, not so much. There's the void. And that's what CXO Exchange Temecula Valley and inside of that, the ref forums, the ref groups are here to fill that void. And you were with us at the first event last November, Ben. What did you make of that?
It was fantastic. It was a really well-produced event. It was an amazing group of folks that were there, and I'm just so excited that it's going to be a continuous thing and looking forward to being a part of it again in the fall.
Yeah, beautiful. And so tell us more about where you're headed, Ben. What do you see in your future, and what are you trying to do, and where are you trying to go?
This is it. I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. It took me a long time to get here. There were a lot of things that I needed to accomplish before I could be in the right place, but I'm now in the right place, and I absolutely love what I do. People ask me, what else? This is it. This is my chapter. This is what I'm going to be doing for as long as I have the capacity to do it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, and obviously Ben and I, everybody, we are what we call portfolio professionals, right? Yes, we had our corporate careers, and then at some point we pivoted to what we call a portfolio career, and we have a portfolio of activities going on. You've heard that Ben has EOS. He now has ref forum groups. He's also a ref speaker. No doubt you do other things. Perhaps, Ben, you speak in other places. You are on or would like to get on some boards. You're active in other things. Just round out that picture a little bit more for us, Ben. What else have you got cooking?
I'm also on the USC Alumni Entrepreneurship Board. That's an organization made up of former USC students who are now alums, and so we work with entrepreneurs, helping them get more out of their business. I also run another type of group that's for entrepreneurs, similar, much lighter framework than REF, a light version of REF for entrepreneurs, and so just continuing to do these types of things is my future. It's what I'm going to do for as many days as I can.
Yeah, the way I express it, Ben, is that being involved with peer groups, peer forums, or sometimes we call them peer advisory boards, has emerged as the greatest passion of my life. It doesn't get any better. It's incredibly enriching for the members, which is why they join and they stay for such a long time. I've as you know, I've had members in groups for as long as 15 years because it just becomes irreplaceable and invaluable like nowhere else they can go. And they just absolutely love it. And REF itself is a global company, everybody. REF used to stand for Renaissance Executive Forums and rebranded itself to REF a few years ago. It was formed in 1994. So this is our 33rd year. And we've got 3,000 members and counting in 22 countries and counting. We are just opening right now in Singapore and India. We're in London and about to be in other parts of Europe. We're already in Madrid, Spain, with about 100 members or more. We're all over the USA, of course, including, as we've heard, San Diego and now Temecula Valley. And we're all over South America and Central America. pretty much in every country. There's a sort of historical reason for that. We probably are the largest Spanish-speaking peer group organization in the world. We're looking forward very much to bringing that to Temecula Valley, where we will be speaking English. Yes, we will. We will be speaking English peer groups here in Temecula Valley. Anything else you want to leave with our listeners, Ben, about EOS, about peer groups, about your passion and moving to Temecula?
Yeah, I can't overemphasize the power of a peer group. It was, I honestly don't know what I would have done in that first time role as a CEO without a peer group. And so if this is resonating at all, if you're seeing this, if you're hearing this, this has caught your ear, please reach out to Mike. Please reach out to me. We'd love to chat with you more about it and see if it's right for you.
Yeah, because we'll be growing our portfolio of peer groups here, everybody, just like we are in San Diego. In San Diego, we have approaching 100 members already, and they're in sort of 8 or 9 different groups. We have CEO groups. We have groups for executives. We have groups then for the specialist functions. So in San Diego, we have groups specifically for sales leaders, for technical leaders, for financial leaders, for HR leaders, and now for operations leaders in San Diego. And so we've got some other CEO groups in flight there. We've got CEO groups specifically for life sciences CEOs and nonprofit CEOs. And so that's how the portfolio of forums and groups is expanding and growing in San Diego. And we will be doing the same here. We already have our first CEO group. As you've heard, we're about to launch our first operations leadership forum. And behind that will be coming things like a forum and group for sales leaders, for HR leaders, for technical leaders, et cetera, along the same lines that we've done in San Diego. We will also be launching more CEO groups and more groups for sort of mixed executives and young emerging leaders. I'm really excited to be having a next gen group as well that we're also going to be launching. So there we have it, everybody. So glad that we're going to be blessed with Ben Norton up here in Temecula Valley and bringing all of his experience and all of his insights to bear, all of his passion about peer groups and peer forums. Really excited about that. And also having him sort of plugging into the whole CXO Exchange Temecula Valley initiative that we've launched.
Thank you so much. This was fantastic. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. And we'll catch you next time, everybody. Come on back and listen to another episode of the Peering Podcast. Thanks for being here.
That's it for this episode of the Peering Podcast, where we believe the best way to see the future is to peer into it together. If today sparked something for you, share it with your peers. And keep the conversation going at peeringpodcast.com, because leadership gets clearer and the future gets brighter when we peer together. Thanks for listening. And until next time, keep peering in.